Hi everybody, it's Kathy here, and I'm coming to you on this Sunday for our Scraplift Crafternoon, where all the girls get together. And this week we're lifting Lisa Brooks from My Life in Layouts. This Sunday, as every Sunday, a group of us get together and we scrap lift somebody that we admire. And this week, this double layout is what we're creating. So I'm going to use two sheets from Kaisercraft here. I'm going to use this yellow here with this punch to create my border. I'm also going to use these other pieces here to create the base for this layout. So my photos aren't 6x4s, so therefore I'm going to adapt it a little bit just to suit what I need, but you can do that as you desire with your layout. That's the best thing about a scrap lift, is that you take somebody's idea and you turn it into your own. So this is the punch that I'm using to create a border, and I'm going to do this 4 times, and I'll do that off screen so that you aren't bored by watching me punch paper, and you can get the idea. You can see that it's a nice scallopy lacy edge, and I'm just going to cut it down here to 1/2 inch, and then that will be my borders. So I'm going to create those, as I said, 4 times. Once I've got my borders, I can then pull the rest together and start working on the bases. Now this is, you can't see it very well or very clearly because of the lighting, but it does have a faint text print on this cardstock that is a Kaisercraft paper, and that's my background, but I want to add a little bit more to it, so I'm adding in some splatters, and I'm using the Dina Wakley gold. I'm not very good at spluttering. I just keep having a go at it, but it just ends up as a bit of a different mix each time I do it. So skills that still need to be refined, and just show that you have a go and it's okay. So I'm putting in those to the side to dry, and while they dry, I'm going to cut up the pieces that I need to create this layout. Now this is a 3x3 strip all the way across, and I'm using that because I'm using it across both sides. I would have ideally liked 2 full sheets of this paper, but that's okay. This is how you can adapt and modify when you have limited stock. You just stretch it and cover it and piece it together, and you end up with the same effect. So I'm just trimming off the branding strips, or the pad strips there. I'm cutting this one to 1.5 strips, which I'm going to use on the edges, and they're going to be 10 inches in length, and that's going to be the length of my panels that I need across my layout. So I'm just taping them up, ready to start building the background from which my photos will then be placed onto the layout. So just as Lisa has done, I have that paper there to the edge, and you'll see that I'll fuss with this a few times before I actually am happy with it. And I haven't stuck it down tight because I know that I'm not exactly happy with it running over like that, and I think it's too much showing, so I then end up tucking it in underneath, as you can see here, and having that blue cardstock come over the top of it, which is fine, because once the banner at the top, or the border at the top, goes across, that's all tucked in nice and neat and nice and fluid across that page. So there's that side done, the left hand side, and now I'm marking off with my pen the right hand side, and you saw me mark that. Yeah, when I go to do it, it doesn't line up, which is very bizarre, but you saw me mark it. So strange, very strange. So I need to look, see, look, it doesn't line up. So I have to change that top one to make it line up better, and there we go, and now it's straight. So then I can put in my blue strip over to the right, and then that creates that border on that side, and then I'm going to put the 2 border strips across the top. Now the first one, of course, I do it the awkward way. I trim it down at the edge of the cardstock, whereas the second time I go the opposite way and trim it at the edge of the page, which makes more sense. So now I've got that right hand side completed, and this is where I realize I have some space that I need to actually work, and this is where I change it and make it a bit different for mine, because my photos are not 4x6s, they are different shapes, but that's okay, and I am going to put them into this space. And originally I put this first one down, and it's not until I'm working this next space here that I realize that, you know what, I need to actually mount this photo to make it fit better on this layout. So I've cut it originally 7.5 across by 9, but what I really end up doing is 6.5 by 9. So I then decide that I need to have those 2 strips that Lisa has on hers, and I want to tie in that blue across the layout. So I'm just cut a 1/2 inch strip, which I'm now going to incorporate into this gingham part of the layout. So she has hers as red, and I'm using mine as gingham, and mine is a bit wider, as I said, because I am not using 4x6 photos. I'm using 3.5 by 5, which have become my favourite size. And to make it a little bit bigger, I'm now going to double mount it, first on the mint and then on the pink, and that's picking up the colours in the layout and my photos. And you can see now that I've done that, I trimmed down that lattice paper. I'm going to lay it into place here, and then I'm going to add the extra bit up the top there with the strip across, and now you can't see any shortfalls of my paper. And as I place this into there, I notice that there's a little bit of a gap, and so I go and patch that off screen. So I now have the photo that is double mounted over to the left. I have a single mounted photo and the single photo, and that's made up that right page. Now over here on the left, that's the left page. Over here on the right page, I'm going to double mount this photo on the edge again, and then my next photo I'm just going to keep as a single, and I'm going to use this lattice to extend across, and then that's bringing the papers across both pages, and I think that marries it nicely and creates a nice effect across. Because of, as I said, my photos being smaller, I needed to compensate for that. So this is showing you how you start with somebody's original idea and then you adapt it to suit your needs. So I have a double mount on the left-hand photo and a single mount on the right-hand photo. I put that lattice work in, and now it looks like it all marries in nicely. I have gone ahead and found a whole lot of ephemera, which I'm going to include as my clusters on this layout. They're all tied into having fun on this merry-go-round. Now, this merry-go-round is in Darling Harbour at Sydney, and when my kids were little, I used to always work the budget with 5 children, as you can imagine, in one wage. It's tricky to do things. I always managed to budget in a Ferris wheel ride for my children, or merry-go-round ride, when we went to Darling Harbour. So this year, when I went down there with my daughter and we were going to the Kitmore concert, we went and approached the ride master and asked if we could ride, because we'd been on one previously where we were told we weren't allowed to because we were adults. And he said, of course we could ride if you have the ticket, because this is one of the old dames and they're made for everybody to ride. So we had our ride on the Ferris wheel, the merry-go-round, which I really love, and that's why I've chosen the horse there and all of these fun little ephemera to complement the magical moment that we got to have by riding and reliving some memories from my daughter's childhood, and the joy I get of watching their faces as they get to do those sorts of things. And that's basically what is written here in my journaling about how we were fortunate enough to be able to ride the merry-go-round, or the carousel, which is in Darling Harbour and is a main feature of Darling Harbour. And if you ever visit Sydney, is one place you need to go. So that's how I have taken the main key elements of the layout that Lisa has and we're using for this Scraplift this week. I've popped up some of those flowers there just to give dimension and added depth. And to finish it off, I'm going to put in some pops of colour in 3 places around the layout. And I love pops of colour, as I've said before, because when you flick them, underneath, they create a faux enamel dot effect. Oops, that's lifting up there, so I'll just pop that back down. And I'm going to put 2 on this one over here, and that will draw your eye around the layout. And they're a subtle hint into the clusters that I formed at key points in this layout. So I love the yellow. It highlights the punched border. It highlights the yellow in the photos. As you can see, these photos work well on this paper range because I've looked at the colours and that's how I've matched my papers. All of these papers are from different ranges. I don't use one range. I use lots, and I just colour combine. So you too can use your stock and stash that you have at home, and you can just use up your stock to create great layouts by just looking at the colours of your photos. That's really important, and that's how your photos pop on a page that could be busy or is busy, because you have taken the colours from the photos onto the layout and vice versa. So here's how it's come together. I'm sorry I can't show you the double together at once, but you will see that at the end in the close-ups. Thank you for watching. There's a full playlist down below of all the girls that are playing along this week. Make sure you go and visit them and give them a thumbs up. If you like what I've created today, give me a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that you like what I'm doing, and it also keeps that interaction happening. Leave me a comment, I'll get back to you. I always love that feedback, it's very important to me. Thanks for watching once again. Here's the next video that I think you should watch, and happy scrapping until next time.